that we're giving first. So to atheism being the easy way out. Now, this could just be from my own experience and the experiences that I've talked to other people about, but coming from a religious high school and coming from a religious family, when you say you're an atheist, it's not usually easy. I've personally received a bit of backlash from my own family members, some close and distant. One of my distant relatives that doesn't live near me wrote on the wall of the event for today that, quote unquote, you'll learn. I don't really know what she means, but that's what she told me. I just don't really understand atheism being the easy way out when it's not the popular position in America. I believe, depending on what poll you look at, about 10 to 16% of people profess some sort of freedom from religion or non-belief in religion. If you get really down into that, only a small percentage of that are actually atheists. So, looking at these numbers, it's really hard to see how such a minority would be taking the easy way out. And I'll have some more on that later. So, to the point of atheists lacking moral fiber and having no contribution of benefit to society, I think we're in a place right now that kind of proves that wrong. This is a non-theistic organization, like Brent said. There's varying beliefs throughout the organization. Some of them, from at least my experiences here, are non-belief. And the Ethical Society does all sorts of things in the realm of charity and the realm of helping other people out. As for the whole idea of atheists having no moral fiber, I think this is a very common misconception, and we'll go into it a little bit later. But I don't understand exactly why somebody needs God to be a good person. I feel like, as part of the Ethical Society and part of humanism, states that humans are a good enough reason to be a good person. Morality can come from all sorts of places. It can come from our upbringings. It can come from studies. It can come from experiences in life. And to say that atheist as a generalization, all or in the majority lack moral fiber, I think is an overstep, and I think it speaks to some of the confusion about what exactly atheism is. To the next point, to telling high school students that they think they're atheists are in some way playing into the popularity of non-belief. The only point that I am willing to give Bishop Rice here is that atheism has made some sort of stride in the last 10 years as becoming a little bit of a larger minority. However, I don't think it's appropriate for the auxiliary bishop of the archdiocese to tell kids that they don't know what they believe, and that for some reason that they're just playing into this grandiose popular idea that atheism's cool and awesome and things like that. There's nothing particularly cool or awesome about atheism. It's just a pretty simple claim that an atheist rejects the claim of anybody that a deity exists.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, all the cool kids. It's like drugs. I'm pretty sure not everybody's doing drugs, and that it's not particularly the cool thing to do, especially in a high school that is Catholic, with 10 priests plus and very fervent faculty. And I just really was confused as to why he decided to insult his audience. To the last point, and I have some more on this as we go along. Atheists, and this kind of goes along with the second point, the non-service of atheists is just not true, to put it very bluntly. Personally, I worked at the Missouri School for the Blind all through my junior year, and I also worked at my dad's organization, which is St. Louis Life, where we help highly functioning, mentally challenged adults in their day-to-day lives. People who are atheists go out and do good things. I'm a little confused as to why people don't understand that. I think it just could be a lack of information, so I have plenty of that as we go along. And so, as we go on to why this is important. I know we can't really see the top of that there. It says small scale, general public. So I posted this event, this forum on Facebook, so my friends, could see what was going on and family and stuff on Facebook. And I titled the event Speaks About Atheism and Bishop Rice. I also, for those of you who are familiar with Facebook, they give you a little section for general info about the event. I filled out pretty much what I was going to talk about, how this wasn't an attack on Catholicism, how it was explaining the need for a better understanding of atheism and what atheists are, and how these sort of comments should not be accepted in society. So here we go. Here's some of the reactions I got to that from people I consider close personal friends. I was called a heretic on more than one occasion. I was told some very misinformed things about actual Catholicism, but that basically I was lying, which I guess is understandable. I was told that I was not old enough to understand my own beliefs. And just to go on, I don't want to get too far into it because it actually is not particularly fun, but very negative things about myself. I was accused of being about to rip apart their religion. As you all can see, I'm not making any direct attacks on belief right now. People have belief, that's cool. It's not for me, whatever. We're all good. But I'm not here to rip apart Catholicism or Christianity or Islam or Judaism. And I've been told that, I'm going to burn in hell and things like that. That's always the classic standby. Now, to be fair, I also got some very loving comments from some of my close friends, including one of my friends who is going into the sisterhood, I believe is how it's referred to. She's going to be a nun. So she actually decided to preach a very loving message as opposed to the 2 or 3 seminarians and future seminarians who decided they were going to try to rip me apart. I don't know where that fits into God's message of love, but I'm sure it's in there. So this is the smaller scale. This is the general confusion about what atheism is. Just because people saw atheism in the title, they assumed the worst. And they got defensive, and they got negative, and it was all because it says atheism in the title. Now, they didn't really read on where I explained how I was arguing for a more of an interfaith perspective and how we can all just get along, free love, all that good stuff. But just that word, it scares people, and that's what I want to get at some here. We're going to a little bit of a bigger scale. I don't want to get too political. How many of you guys know who Bill O'Reilly is? That's pretty easy. So, Bill O'Reilly recently went on his show, and he invited David Silverman, who is the president of the American Atheists, which is an organization that I have mixed feelings about. And Bill O'Reilly had a little debate. It really wasn't supposed to be a debate. I think they were supposed to be talking about the organization, but good old Bill never likes to really stay on topic. Bill decided that he was going to explain the existence of God to David Silverman, and the much quoted passage is. We can all sing it together. Tie goes in, tie goes out. You can't explain that. I mean, first of all, we can't explain that. That's not really that complicated. The actual physics and things of that are a little more complicated, but the idea is not particularly confusing. But now, Bill O'Reilly doesn't know a lot of things, despite what he may think. But I think this is a good place to start as to where people are confused about what atheism is, and that it's not a particularly negative perspective. It's just a thing. And atheists are not confused about how the world works, and I'm being very general, obviously, but atheists are not confused about how the world works. We understand how the moon works and the tide works and things like that. We don't really need to be explained that it's God. But it's just, you can sense the negative attitude from the very, very far right starting. We go down. If you look at Congress right now, and I'm basing this off of the last Congress, I couldn't find information really on the new Congress, but there is one representative in the 517, 18 or so members of the Senate and the House. I think that's the correct number. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. There's one member who specifically expresses non-religion. His name's Pete. I should be more formal than that. His name's Mr. Stark. He's from Northern California. There's a few other people that put no preference, but Mr. Stark is the only person that put non-religious. From what I know about Mr. Stark, he is a Unitarian Universalist. Expresses no belief in a deity, but what I want to get at is, if you look at 1 out of, let's say, 500 people, that's 0.2, if my math's right, 0.2% of Congress is non-religious. And when you look at 10 to 60% of America being non-religious, that's a little disproportionate. And I think that's because, and I'm going to have a little slide about it later, they've done polling before, and they've asked people, would you vote for an atheist for office, or would you vote for an atheist for president? 50% of people immediately say no. With the basis for the question is that they're overly qualified, they'd be, fantastic at their job, but just because of having the title atheist tagged to them, 50% of Americans won't vote for them, which kind of diminishes any chance of that happening in the near future. The last person I want to talk about, or I guess I got 2 more points because I did put the lovely billboard that some of you may know from New Jersey and New York. Dr. Bentley is the governor of Alabama recently. He came out when he gave his, I believe it was his gubernatorial speech, when he accepted office. He said that he basically called everybody in Alabama, very specifically all the Christians in Alabama, his brothers and sisters, and said anybody that does not accept the message of Christ is not his brother and sister and not his fellow citizen and things like that. This is the governor of Alabama. That's a state, not a church. People in Alabama have various beliefs despite whatever you may think about the southeast of the United States. There are atheists, surprisingly enough. And for the leader of a state to go in and say that anybody in the state that does not share his religious belief is not his friend or his brother or sister, it's not appropriate, and it's not okay. And it just shows even more the confusion. Last point, you guys may have heard of the it's a myth little scenario. The American Atheists, like I said, I have some problems with their campaigning. So it's a myth. This season celebrate reason, specifically attacking the nativity. I'm not going to show the clip because it's a little long, but basically Megan, does anybody know the Fox commentator, blonde hair? Megyn Kelly. Also invited David Silverman on and basically gave him the 3rd degree about his beliefs and about the billboards. I think the billboards are a little harsh personally, mostly because I'm into people and I like other people. And that's kind of not a good way to make friends. But just the attack that Megan had on David Silverman was a little unnecessary, and David likes to fight back a little unnecessarily. But it just shows how disbelief is viewed as something very negative.
Real quick,
Yes.
for those who have come in late, our guest today is Ben Conover, who is the Chief of Staff of the Atheist Youth Movement. Go ahead.
All right. So on the top there it says "Top Dog, the Pope." Atheism causes Holocaust? ? I'm going to use this as my big grand example. There's a lot of other examples. Pope Benedict, in an address to the wonderful Queen Elizabeth, implied that atheist extremism contributed to the Holocaust, and completely ignored the fact that Hitler, in Mein Kampf and other writings, professed Catholicism. The fact that, I don't know why it says atheist right there. And the Catholic Church was rather, that is not typed very well, I apologize for that. It was rather compliant with Nazi Germany. How many of you all know Richard Dawkins? Pretty popular, one of the few popular atheists in the world. He's a little upset by this, as was I when I found about it. And I'm going to read his quote. And apologies if he gets a little harsh. He's kind of used to that and does that quite a bit. So even if Hitler had been an atheist, his political philosophy was not based upon atheism and had no connection with atheism. Hitler was arguably, and by his own account, a Roman Catholic. In any case, he enjoyed the open support of most of the senior Catholic clergy in Germany, and the less demonstrative support of Pope Pius XII. Even if Hitler had been an atheist, and he was certainly not, the rank and file of Germans who carried out the attempted extermination of the Jews were Christians, almost man to man, either Catholic or Lutheran, primed to their anti-Semitism by centuries of Catholic propaganda about Christ killers and by Martin Luther's own seething hatred of the Jews. To mention Ratzinger's membership of the Hitler Youth might be fighting dirty. So Dawkins uses a little bit stronger words than I would have used. But I think we want to point out that it was not atheism that caused the Holocaust, and in my opinion, it wasn't Catholicism that caused the Holocaust. So many factors, including one very crazy man having way too much power, caused the Holocaust. Not atheism.